Zillow is a secondary feed that primarily lists the homes that nobody wanted to buy. The best price homes that are the most desirable, those never make it to Zillow. Guys, get this script down.
So I have another question. We had a phone call for a listing appointment the other day, and they were a little hesitant to list right away. We've been in contact with them for a couple months now, and they have a few things to do around the house before they want to list it. But we get this question a lot, and I don't know if you have any suggestions on how we should answer it correctly, or even if anyone else does, because we get to ask this all the time. They say, well, since we're not going to put it on the market now, but if you have a buyer from now to June 1st, when we want to list it, you're more than welcome to bring it, and we'll give you your 2.5.
We'll go with you June 1st.
And we'll give you your listing on June 1st.
Okay, if they said that, the first thing I would do is I would turn that phone call into an appointment. Okay? So
Which we
did.
We are like, that was like we had a lot of communication with them back and forth that they were going to do the virtual, but then we ended up just taking it over the phone. So the next step would probably be like a Zoom meeting like this, when they're ready to and send the listing agreement over and stuff like that. But this was just more of the like what their time frame was and when they wanted to list it.
Right. I'd say great. I'd say, oh, I'd love to do that, and that sounds great. So I'd affirm that I heard them. Yes, we want to wait till June 1st, but if I bring somebody in the meantime, you'd be open to it, correct?
They would do it for sale by owner until June 1st.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, I feel like, right. We would be open to it. Of course, we want to bring the buyer, but I also don't want to put in all this work and then not get paid for it, and then they don't go with us on June 1st.
I get you. Let me role play with you, Connie. Let's try it that way. You be your FSBO seller, and I'll be me. Okay? So you just said what you're going to say. We want to FSBO it until.
Yeah, we're going to wait until June until we get some work done, and then we'll call you on June 1st and list it.
That sounds great. So in the meantime, if I had a buyer, I could bring them to you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Could I actually, just so I can have a little bit of help from you, would you mind if I sent you a quick link so that I could actually learn a little bit more about your house so I can better market it to my buyers in the meantime? Would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Now I just set a listing appointment, and that changes everything, because now I'll have a captive audience. And if he won't do it right now, I'll say, can we just pick a time when you have a little bit more time? Okay. Because now we can sit down and explain to him how important this is, right? Is he listed, is the FSBO listed in the MLS?
No.
Okay, great. Because that's when I think we'd sit down in that meeting. I wouldn't want to do this over the phone, but I do it in an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting, and I explain, hey, right now we have a shortage of housing, okay? But I'll tell you right now, 98% of home buyers use a realtor to buy a house. We know that, right? 98% of home buyers use a realtor to buy a house. So who are we really marketing to? Home buyers or their realtors? And I can tell you right now that realtors, when we want to find properties for our buyers, we look in the multiple listing service.
Yeah.
And when I look in the multiple listing service, I don't see you. Yet we have this shortage right now.
Right.
That's a good answer.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good answer.
So you're
That's
not
a better
there.
answer than I
So
did.
you're not marketing. And guess what these home buyers do? They go to their realtors to find out which houses they should look at.
Right.
So I don't know. In the 2% that don't use a realtor, those are like people that are buying from builders directly. I mean, they're not in the resale market typically. So no one can see your house right now. It's completely hidden. The sign in your front yard, it's never been less visible than during COVID. No one sees that thing.
Yeah, but don't they go on Zillow? They say we go on Zillow or realtor.com.
They can go on Zillow and realtor.com, but like I said, do you, Giovanni, as an agent, as a realtor, when you go look for houses to show your clients, do you go on Zillow?
I don't, because I'm on the MLS, but most
because
clients...
you're smarter than that. You are smart. So
most clients, they say, well, they call us, a million people call us with, I see this on Zillow. Can you show me it?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. No, they do, but understand that we're talking to Connie Connie's client right now. And if I'm talking to Connie's client, I'm going to say that's true. People do look on Zillow, but 98% of home buyers use an agent. And understand when they're looking on Zillow, that's a secondary news feed. Okay, that's a secondary feed. Most of the properties that we get on Zillow are the homes no one wanted. And they are.
Well, wait a minute, Brian. I just had a situation where most buyers are looking on Zillow.
Oh, they are. I would definitely agree.
Now what's happening is Zillow is competing with us, and because inventory is so low, people are advertising Zillow, their homes for sale by owner on Zillow. So now I'm in a situation where I've had this
and I'm with you.
Inventory is so low, I've been forced to go look on Zillow at for sale by owners, and then I've called and I'm bringing people, I'm getting my permission to show form signed, and I'm bringing people there.
Oh boy.
That's how low.
It tells me we've got a realtor problem in central New Jersey. We got to educate our realtors in central New Jersey, okay? Because these people are actually believing it, and you're starting to too, okay?
No, but I would have lost that buyer because they would have gone direct. So in other words, I'm not seeing that house.
And you're missing the point. I'm talking to the seller of a FSBO. You're talking to a buyer. When I'm talking to a seller, I'm going to explain to that seller, I mean, the guy clearly hasn't been able to sell his house. And that's because, I mean, I guarantee you there's a ton of people in your MLS that have buyers right now that can't find the inventory. In fact, I'll guarantee you that for the last 6 years, it's been a problem in your area. That you have not had enough housing inventory and we just can't find a home and we're losing with buyers in multiple offers. Well, why? That's because there's not enough homes for sale in your MLS.
Yeah, but I'm turning it into an opportunity. So I'm calling those.
I'm not discounting what you're saying, Lillian. You're working with a buyer. I'm talking with a seller.
No, but I'm calling those FSBOs, and then when if that buyer is not interested in the house, I'm going for that listing. So I'm turning that into what you're saying now, into that opportunity. And I'm getting a couple of them now.
And that's great. And I think that's a wonderful tactic to get into the conversation. But when we get into the conversation with the seller, what we're going to need to do is explain to them that no one's seeing their house, that they're not getting exposed.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
See, that makes sense? Yes. So when we get in there, it's like, hey, no one sees it. I mean, 98% of home buyers are represented by agents that are not seeing your home.
Correct.
Because Zillow is a secondary feed that primarily lists the homes that nobody wanted to buy. Guys, get this script down. Okay? Because it's true. The best price homes that are the most desirable in the best shape, typically in this market for like the last 6 years at least, sell within 24 hours with multiple offers on them. Those never make it to Zillow. They never get there. And if they do get there, usually you're calling me about them and they're already pending and Zillow's still showing them as active. Can I get an amen on that? That's because you're looking at a secondary news feed. We as realtors have full realtor access to the live data. I can give that to you too. So get them off Zillow and set them up on a listing e-alert. So the minute a home goes up for sale, they get an email real time and we give them full realtor access. Does that make sense? This is where realtors have struggled for decades. Is they're on Zillow and we don't know how to sell our product, but Zillow gets delayed data and delayed information. We see it all the time. So we need to move them off Zillow. Yes, you're on Zillow, but if everybody bought off Zillow, then why do 98% use an agent? Because the agents don't know you're there and the agents don't look on Zillow because they know it's bad old data. If you want multiple offers from buyers, then let's put you in MLS and you'll have people fighting over your property if we price it correctly. How does that sound to you? Does that make sense, Connie? You're muted. I don't know how, but you are.
It makes sense, but I think like what they were trying to do too was saying, well, why don't you go through all these contacts that you have and go through your Rolodex, and then we'll just not only give out 2.5 instead of your 5%.
Instead of waiting to June.
First.
I can't get him there. My second step is going to be this. I'm going to say, okay, I tell you what.
Right.
I need written authorization from you to be able to go to work for you, Connie.
Right, and that's what we tried. Yeah, we tried to do that, and he was sort of got offended by it. He was like, "Well," I said that. I was like, "Well, we would love to do that. We could sign an exclusive listing with you right now and just start putting the word out, and then on June 30th, put you on the or June 1st, put you on the MLS." And then he was like, "Well."
Let me just phrase it a little differently. Let me phrase it a little differently. I'd say, how about I sign? What I'll do is I'll sign a listing agreement that only goes into effect until after June 1st. I'm not going to say exclusive. That's a dangerous word for seller. I'm going to say that it only goes into effect after June 1st. Okay?
Gotcha.
So in the meantime, if you sell it, it's all yours. But that way I'm still authorized to try to bring a buyer. You're not obligated to pay me anything under that contract until after June 1st. Does that make sense? But it still authorizes me to go to work for you so that I can be ready to go June 1st if you're intent on working on me. Because what you're worried about with these FSBOs is oftentimes they're telling every realtor what they're telling you. Does that mean, oh yeah, I'll work with you. Oh yeah, I'll work with you. Just bring me something. So there is something about that. So the best thing you can do in the meantime is true of any FSBO is to stay with them. So if that doesn't work, I stay with him every single week. How's it going? I pull him a CMA. I set him a listing e-alert for sure. He needs to be on emails right now. Right? And then we got to call him about any status change from anybody in his neighborhood. If something goes active, pending, or sold, I'm going to call him about it. And I'm going to let him know, hey, this is how this changed your housing price. I'm going to tell him, up or down. Could be good news, could be bad news. And then I'm going to explain to him, it also kind of shows him that people are moving forward and he's not. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of gets some urgency in him. So then I'm going to say, most FSBOs we found it's a 6-week process. We have to try to add value and communicate for 6 weeks, and that's when you get them. Make sense? But keep trying every time, like you're doing.
Yeah, we're going to stay on top of them.
Try to hold a virtual open house with him. If you hold an open house for one of your other properties, hold one for him. Try to keep giving him CMAs, keep giving him listing e-alerts, keep washing his windows until ultimately you'll be the one agent that stays with him and keeps trying to add value. And because you're running the ball up the middle, coming from contribution until ultimately he goes with you. Make sense?